What up, everybody? Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I am your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the man of tomorrow. And with me, as always, Mr. James Superman Red Cole, the man of steel himself. What's up, James?
Hey, howdy.
We're a little
going
later recording this time just because James has been fighting the most evilest of pains, tooth pains.
Tooth pain. Yeah, so my gums are raw all the way on this side and on the inside of that side from being stuck with the needles and the numbing cream and stuff. Like, so a couple of days this week I wasn't up for recording.
He was very
it's still sore this morning, but I'm feeling better. So
very agitated, and we don't want to make James agitated. We don't like James when he's angry.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
So, we can't be doing that. But we got some...
Nobody wants to podcast angry unless that's like your thing, going to your podcast and raw.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's like a death metal podcast. It's just a lot of raw. Well, just a quick shout outs.
Smashing in the background.
Check out my personal YouTube page for the Requel podcast. Just go to youtube.com, Jonathan Tyler Patrick. James's monthly horror podcast, The Gore Report. New episodes coming soon for this month.
James got a nice October.
James has a very interesting theme that he's come up with for the first year of the Gore Report. Check it out. James and I do a monthly to bi-monthly to Supernatural report where we go back and we watch Supernatural kind of live watching commentary.
We've had one or two a month for the last handful of months. I think we're doing all right.
We've been doing good. We only missed, I think, a month, and that was because of a family situation. And so let's get into some news here, okay? First thing up here, we got some covers, some comics of some slight with the All-In Initiative. We got some slight adjustments to some characters' looks. We have a new look for Harley Quinn. It looks like someone just mixed Punchline and Harley Quinn together, is what it looks like. The Black Adam new look looks cool. Looks like it's inspired from the TV show and Black Adam himself. Green Arrow looks like Green Arrow. Power Girl.
Black Lightning?
Yeah, did I say Black Adam? Jesus,
you
Tyler.
Did say Black Adam.
And
well, have you read Absolute Power? Have you read number 4?
I have.
Oh, me too.
And we're going to catch up on comics here soon.
I needed to finish it because number 4 just dropped this week, so I needed to finish it so I could jump on and start reading the All-In and Absolute books. I want to get a couple under my belt now, so that when the rest of them come out on the app, I can right on through.
Catwoman looks like Catwoman, but looks a little ridiculous, but whatever. The Question looks like she's Western.
In
the
space.
Flash, yeah. The Flash,
like Firefly.
The Flash looks awesome. Interesting. Still like as a nose guard, and then Superwoman we'll talk about in the near future. And then Power Girl, they look like I liked what they were doing. Now they're like resorting back to previous Power Girl.
I did too. I don't know what that is all about. Although I do like the fact that she's kind of like hanging out with Natalie or Natasha. Yeah. I forget which one it is. I think it's Natasha in the comic. I think Nat in the comic, and Omen, who she's been with since Lazarus.
Yeah. So, they try to make Power Girl not this super just used for sex symbol, and then they're like reverting her costume back and back. So, and then we're getting, check this out, we're getting Absolute Flash.
No, that looks kind of
cover for Absolute Flash. So I'm like, okay. So it looks like they're going to be expanding this Absolute universe. I thought I had it, but they're doing an Absolute Martian Manhunter, and it looked like Play-Doh. It was weird.
Play-Doh?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the Flash one. So
I thought I had the Martian Manhunter. So we had New York Comic Con last weekend, and some stuff was announced. Like, so we're gonna get into some of that high points, but check out this. We're gonna get the McFarlane Batman and Robin Batmobile.
Oh, that is sick. I had that toy when I was a kid. I had that Batmobile.
So did I.
And
I loved it.
Like, I want all the Batmobiles, and that's just a lot of money because those are expensive.
I know. I just want like them to. I want to find stuff in stores.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't want to. Yeah, this Superman figures must. These are for the.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at all of them. The Tempest look for Aqualad, the Wildcat, Orion. Orion looks sick, and I love that Superman.
Then I definitely want to get here. There's your Lobo there, and I want to get Superman the black suit, the regenerative suit. I just want to be able to go into a store and find these. I'm tired of like having to order everything online. Like my stores have not gotten any McFarlane products. And then we have
the ones that my stores have are all the same ones that I see every time I look.
Yeah. There's Green Lantern Guy Gardner, Power Girl, Captain Cold. The Power Girl's pretty cool though. Comes with the cat. Speaking of McFarlane toys, check this out. This has been a request for Solomon. He about lost his stuff. The Monsterverse is getting a sequel comic, and McFarlane's putting out toys. And here's the first image of a 2-part toy of King Kong and Batman.
That's awesome. Did you get him the hardcover Justice League?
Not the hardcover, yeah. I bought him all the individual issues, but I didn't get the hardcover. And then the story, so the sequel story is going to see Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah, and then we're going to see Killer Croc become a kaiju.
Yeah, that looks sick.
Oh my god.
And that's a pretty cool. I saw the Suicide Squad there. I was like, oh man, that's kind of cool. That's interesting.
Solomon lost his mind. It was amazing. He was so excited.
Oh, yeah, Killer Croc.
He literally like grabbed me like, ah!
Right.
Another announcement, and this is one of those like I'm excited for, but at the same time I'm like, is Hush 2. The Hush 2 Prelude is coming in Justice League Unlimited #1 in stores November 27th. And my first thought is this going to be like in the Batman title itself or detective title itself? Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee, Scott Williams. So you have the team, but like, what is Hush 2? That's my question for you, James. Because if you think about it, Hush's big thing was, there you go. There's the Plato Absolute Martian Manhunter. Hush is a mystery that I feel like it's a Riddler story that no one realizes is a Riddler story. Spoilers for like a 20-year-old book. And
well, that's why they made the change they did
in the movie. Yeah,
in the movie to make it even more.
And I remember reading Heart of Hush and stuff, but I don't remember what happens in it.
So I don't know where they are going to go from here. I honestly don't. That's Hush is an interesting book. It's got some pretty cool. I mean, it's got fantastic art. So that's going to be one thing to look forward to. But where the story goes, is it going to be told from a time like back when that book was written? It's a different time from when part 1 was written. And especially in continuity and stuff, it's very different. So, like, what are we going to see in this book?
And then we are approaching the 400th episode of this show, Teen Titans Go, which is supposed to have their 400th episode as a stop motion special.
Oh, I might have to check that out.
This show I used to hate, but now I just find its charm because I like watching it with the kids, and it's just having kids has made me appreciate this show so much more. Teen Titans. Gah. And then we have this little Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow starts filming in January in the UK. So that's a cool little update. We're going to review that book in 2026. I've read it. But 2026, spoilers alert, just a look forward at the podcast as because of the Supergirl movie, everything, we're going to do a kind of a reevaluated deep dive into Supergirl in 2026. It's going to be, since we are just Krypton report and we talk about all things Kryptonian and everything, we're going to do some more Supergirl reading and exploration of that character. Yeah. So that's our plan for that. I mean, like I said, I've read that book. It's interesting, and I think it's interesting if this is the story they're gonna use. But we'll talk about it in the future. Last little bit was I watched the panel, James Gunn, New York Comic Con. James says there are references to things that happened in the past, and those references then become canon in the DCU because we mentioned them. That's literally his quote. That's convoluted.
Yeah.
Okay. I said to you, he stated that Peacemaker, the first half of Peacemaker season 1 is canon. He said to the new DCU, and the second half or whatever isn't, or the first couple of episodes is canon. And he said, well, it'll be explained in Peacemaker season 2. And I'm kind of curious how that's going to happen. Like, what kind of visual cue will we get? Like what I think would be neat if like you were like watching, say, Peacemaker walk or something, and then you have like the red like across the sky.
Like and it almost seems like an instant like a red.
Yep, and then it just and then we're like, and then like we still have Peacemaker kind of in the same, but then stuff around him and everything's changed, and like you turn the camera and the people behind you, maybe it's a little altered or changed, and that's kind of our visual cue that we're now like in a new universe, like a post-crisis thing, because like I still subscribe to my crisis, post-crisis thing, and that the new DC universe is set on another Earth from post-crisis. But I threw this to you. Is there anything in the Suicide Squad movie that ties it to the previous DC continuity?
I mean, the only thing we've got is reoccurring characters, but they don't really mention anything from previously, except for that they really know each other.
Who do we have? Okay, let's think.
So we have this. In the Suicide Squad, all you have is Harley, Flag, and Boomerang. Boomerang dies.
Yeah.
Him and Harley mention that they know each other, but in the Suicide Squad, that could be anything. That could be any time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Suicide Squad, 2016. And then Flag, he's there, but there's no mention of Enchantress, the stuff that he did and was with her. I mean, he only knows Harley, same thing. Suicide Squad, he would just know Harley from being out on missions. Viola Davis is Amanda Waller, but she doesn't reference anything from Suicide Squad before.
And everybody else that's continuing, like Harcourt, Economos, are in Peacemaker and are in the new DC universe. Joel
Harcourt was in Black Adam, but that's it.
Yeah. And so was, Economos and her were in Shazam too. But I'm just saying, like, we're pulling Waller and we're pulling more lore because, Peacemaker deals with the aftermath of killing Rick Flag Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of those like kind of soft retcons,
Yeah.
Like he was Rick Flag Jr. But it works because, a lot of times juniors don't always go by just junior unless their parent is around or whatever. So, and they're, they mention, Frank Grillo's son is supposed to be Joel Kinnaman, Rick Flag Jr. So, and they talk about, Superman being shot with a kryptonite bullet by Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Which I'm just telling you, my thing is I feel like he's going to basically backdoor the Suicide Squad into the new DC universe. It's going to be one of those.
I mean, at least the canon idea, because we've got Weasel here going forward, and the idea that in the trailer they're like, he knows how to survive. He's a survivor. Like everyone thought he was dead, and no, he woke up on the beach and took off. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of touches and things like that, and like we said, there's nothing really that connects the Suicide Squad to anything before it.
I mean, Peacemaker, if you did not have that scene at the end of Peacemaker with Aquaman and Flash showing up with the shadowed Wonder Woman and Superman, the whole first season of Peacemaker could be DC universe, but it's confusing, but whatever. We'll go with it. Because we have Creature Commandos, and one thing they kind of talked about and touched on a little bit is, part of this whole DC thing was people in Creature Commandos are supposed to play the animated version as well as the live action, with Viola Davis and Frank Grillo being the two that we're going to see. But Frank Grillo, he talked about the panel, was unable to style his hair and everything after the way Rick Flag Sr. looks in Creature Commandos.
Yeah, because he was shooting I don't know, Yellowstone or something.
Yeah.
And so his hair is longer and brown. He couldn't get it cut shorter and styled and white as the character on the cartoon on Creature Commandos.
So what did you think of the Creature Commandos? The Creature Commandos trailer. What did you think of it?
So I actually enjoyed it. I mean, it's a mature show. I mean, we kind of expected as much. And I've got no beef with that, of course. I'm fine with that stuff.
It's interesting because a lot of people have said that it looks just like Suicide Squad but with monsters, and I'm like, you know what? But if you look at the thing that they talk about in the trailer, like we can no longer use people or humans for our missions, and then we have how Amanda Waller kind of got outed at the end of Peacemaker. So they're switching now to using these creature characters. It makes sense of what they're doing and where they're going. And I'm curious because Rick Flag is working for Waller. How long is it till he learns that Waller was the one that actually made the call to have Rick Flag, his son, killed? It was, that was why Peacemaker was there, so I'm just saying.
That'll be interesting if she does, because I wonder, he's in so many projects coming moving forward. He's in Creature Commandos, he's in Peacemaker 2, he's in Superman. What's his character arc going to be in 3 different projects here? Is he going to find out that Amanda Waller ordered it? Was it what's the deal? Obviously, he's going at Peacemaker. He's going after Peacemaker, or not going after. He's at least in Peacemaker 2. Probably gonna know or learn that Peacemaker is the one who killed his son. I mean, I'm sure he would understand that it's orders, so it came from somewhere, probably. But yeah, what's his character arc in 3 projects? Frank Grillo's going to be in at least these. the Waller show was announced. I mean, he could be in that. That could be 4 projects. So, I mean, you know, his character's here. What are we gonna bring over? What's gonna continue forward, and where's he gonna go?
My thought is, I think Peacemaker season 2 will probably come out after Superman. So maybe late July, early August. It's kind of like we don't have a date, but that's kind of my thought. So yeah, that with Creature Commandos also, like, it feels like it's a mixture of the Creature Commandos comic and Agents of Shade. Like with Frankenstein and stuff. And I wonder how we're gonna play that.
Well,
I started reading some of the New 52 Agents of Shade.
Okay.
And then there's a new Creature Commandos book that just dropped on the app. The first issue did.
Yeah, written by Dus Malchin.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I read that. That as well. I don't know if it's gonna tie to the movie or anything.
I don't either, but it's just, I feel like it's one of those where they're like wanting to bring it, you know, similar. But he also, last James Gunn quote was that people are going to lose their effing minds over David Cornsweet as Superman. So, and then a trailer is coming soon, but not that soon. So great.
Say we are what, 9 months ish away from the release of Superman. It's too early, and we know when it's going to be too late. I mean, anywhere between 6 and 3 months out, they're going to be doing the marketing. So
I say just give us the tease, like give us a teaser, a real teaser. Okay. Much like, do you remember the original Dark Knight teaser when it was just like audio and that symbol?
Yeah. Well, and like the BVS teaser was just the Superman in the sky with the red eyes and the dark sky and stuff.
Well, that was the Comic-Con teaser. The original teaser trailer showed us just flashes, images, and that was about a year. That was a year out.
Yeah, that was too long. That marketing was way crazy.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
It was stupid stuff.
But let's think about the Man of Steel teaser.
The beginning of the end, man.
The Man of Steel teaser was how it just like was random shots, you thought, with a voiceover, and then you just you see him flying through the clouds.
Yeah. So those are like real teasers. These days, the teasers they release are like solid 2 minutes.
I know they're trailers, and they call them teasers.
What they are is, well, they are teasers because they don't give you any sense of like the story. All they do is show you a lot of clips of the movie without any kind of real story or character or sequential thing. Just showing you stuff before they release the real trailer that gives you a little bit of the story and the characters you're gonna see.
I would just like,
but those were real teasers, you know, like, yeah.
I would like a Superman teaser in the vein of like the Man of Steel thing.
Right. I couldn't tell you how many times I watched that Man of Steel teaser. It's literally just a voiceover and Superman shooting off into the sky through the clouds, sonic boom and stuff. I was like, that looks freaking amazing. And I was right. It was amazing.
Go back and watch the original. I did a fun experiment where I took the original teaser from Man of Steel, and I took the original teaser from Superman Returns, and I flipped the audio, and it still works. Like, you still get the same impact.
Perfect.
But the Superman Returns, I would like a teaser like that for Superman, you know, soon. Something like that where it very much is like just these big, beautiful, ominous shots, and with very little, but just enough to make you excited, but not enough that we like, oh my God, we know everything. I can't believe, you know, like, and don't even like, I don't need, just focus on him. Like, don't tease everything. Just focus on him. Like, we had a conversation yesterday, me, Brian, and a friend of ours, about like the Deadpool and Wolverine marketing, how they just decided like towards the right before the movie release start showing all the other stuff. Like you didn't have to. You've already sold the movie on Deadpool and Wolverine. So, but let's get into some comics, man. We got comics. This week's is Superman and Wonder Woman, Volume 2. Now, Volume 2 crosses over with Doomed for most of this book, so it's a very short book.
I read 2 and 3. Well, the end of 2 and 3.
Oh, you read 3 too? Dang it! I thought about reading 3, but I didn't.
I was flipping through 2, and I was like, well, hell, we covered all of this. So,
I know.
Yeah, I was like, we covered all this. So,
because I originally thought that 3 was the Dune crossover when I was planning.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that it was 2. So let's just kind of get into what we can with 2. I'm pulling it up here. Selah has my iPad, so you'll have to bear with me because we all know how much the computer's version of everything sucks.
Yeah, so well, we start 2 with evolutions.
So we get past all the Doom stuff. Hold on. All right. And part of this is also the Future's End.
Yeah. So we've got Doomed. We get the Wonder Woman in Clark's apartment while he's transforming. The lasso. We get Lois, the military, being stopped by the military, and then being compelled by the God of War to let her go.
It's inside this book is when Lois gets taken over really by Brainiac, and it's through we see everything that's going on there. Like Doomed is a very dense, powerful story, and I feel like it did not get all the time that it needed.
Yeah, it tied together a lot of books,
Yes, it did.
It just didn't get the time it needed to have an impact and breathe, because it was automatically followed up by like another event.
Because it was like almost like this big. It was this huge multi crossover. So like this really doesn't
like immediately followed by like Forever Evil or something.
I think so. Yeah, it feels right.
Because one of the issues I think it was in this trade. I got to keep flipping through Doomed here.
Because
I believe it was in this where he says that they just. I forget the quote. I gotta find it.
Because Forever Evil at least paused, and gave everything a breather for a moment, like in the titles. So like a lot of the titles didn't have Forever Evil crossovers because the crossovers were the villains books. But the real like Doomed or start of this that wasn't in Doomed is when you see War World inside the Phantom Zone with Non. And we have Superman with Martian Manhunter. And this is like the fallout of Doomed where they rescue Lana and Steel. And it's just kind of that last bit of like fallout of Brainiac and saving Lois from Brainiac. And we have Wonder Woman goes into the Phantom Zone.
Yeah. Which I think, we have a modern day appreciation for that chapter of the story, because that chapter of the story is when John Henry and Lana got introduced to each other and basically began their relationship, which is still going in comics today.
Yep. And then we have this kind of metaphysical thing of Superman fighting like a cage version of the Doomed monster, but that really is kind of the only issue that was in here that wasn't in Doomed. And then the next book is Wonder Woman taking Giganta down in Wimbledy Station, and then Superman shows up, and this is after Doomed because he has that beard. I love the artwork for this issue.
Yeah.
and it's a nice kind of one and done because he gives her a flower that he says needs cooking oil, and the whole premise of this is about just like expectations of things that we put on each other, and sometimes we give each other gifts that require responsibility because she doesn't. And then we see this nice thing of like her kind of recanting their stories. So like Superman with Apollo, them versus Zod and Feora, the Doomed, and we see that the plant starts to grow into this crazy, huge thing, and then Superman and Wonder Woman come back to the apartment, and it's this giant monster, and he's like, "You," she's like, "I forgot to water the plant," and he's like, "You have to give it cooking oil. Oil, it likes oil," you know,
Yeah.
and we see it going crazy, and it's going, after actual oil, but they start fighting about,
Yeah, it starts going for crude oil.
um, him complaining that she didn't take care of it, and then, uh, and they start doubting their relationship, and then he goes after it, and then she realizes that it's actually strife, that is causing them to have these battles and these fights. And she basically says, "I can't stop you from doing what you do, strife, but I can make it harder." And she destroys her like seeing portal with her sword. And then Superman, looking awesome with his beard, much like James Cole, goes to visit Swamp Thing. And this is really awesome because Swamp Thing shows up to help with the flower, and basically says like it's from a different green, but he's going to try, and he basically is able to touch it, absorb some of it, and learns like Kryptonian and speaks to it through the Kryptonian green.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how he touches it and his body starts to change to like the green, the look of it with the spots and everything. And he starts speaking to it in Kryptonian.
So, and then it ends with like Superman and Wonder Woman making up, and the last line is, Diana, whatever happens, we're ready together. And like I said, it was a great like kind of one and done thing. And then next is the future. What do you call it? The future ends, which that was another one of those like kind of crossover events that kind of just got put to the side that no one really talks about like they should have, because I felt like it was kind of like it seemed like a Days of Future Past type thing, but with Batman Beyond. And I've never read the main Futures in book.
Oh, I read the whole thing.
I want to, like, it's on my. But what did you think of these two
It's
issues?
interesting. These two issues is kind of cool. I mean, I like the premise of it. I with it being so long since I've read Futures End, um, 20 2018, twenty
Mm-hmm.
nineteen, when the app dropped. But
Yeah.
I thought the story was really cool. It's very interesting how she's got this warlike. Well, we find out it's a war fantasy. Um, Her and undead soldiers fighting Nemesis, the embodiment of antagonizing and antagonist. The embodiment of strife among each other. But turns out she's in Tartarus. She's in Tartarus, the underworld beyond Doom's door, which is the door to Tartarus that the Amazons protect on Themyscira. And Superman has entered Tartarus to get her out, which she says that he took a big risk because only somebody with divine blood like her can get out. So if he could never find her or couldn't get her out, they were trapped there, or he would be trapped there. Um, but as Nemesis is, and we find Themyscira is the only place on Earth that Nemesis hasn't taken over at this point, and Wonder Woman um, Wonder Woman enters and comes out with like the powers of peace. She goes from being like the god of war to the goddess of peace.
And the last thing is I love peace, and she's all white.
Yeah, that white suit looks awesome. The white and gold, I think it looks really cool.
And that's the end of the book. And like I said, like it was mostly the Doom stuff, and I had thought originally that Doom was next week, but
this entire trade is crossover stuff. It's all Doomed and it's all Future's End.
And then
it's only chapters. It's not a complete story for either one.
And then that like one shot that we did with the flower, which is like after Doomed.
Well, which was something that actually he gave her in the last trade. It is something that came back from early on when he told her that it takes cooking oil.
Yeah.
And then all of this has happened, and then
it just comes back around. But now, what you've all been waiting for. I need to get that clip, but Superman and Lois. Next, season 4, episode 4, A Perfectly Good Wedding. The Kents struggle to adjust to their new normal. Hold on, let me find my notes here. I have all kinds of notes because that's what I do. Here we go. Wait, maybe not. I had to take notes for something else too, and that's what threw me off. Okay, the Kents adjust to their new normal. Lois helps throw Kyle and Chrissy in an impromptu wedding that doesn't go as planned. So this episode opens with like beautiful shots of the sky, and it picks up with Lois at the grave, and then the boys hear something, and then you hear sound, and she feels it, and then she turns, and there is Clark, and he's in a suit, like not like a Superman suit, like a suit, like in full-on Clark mode, even with his glasses.
He has to keep spare suits, spare human clothes at the fortress.
And she runs up, and like it was a very powerful emotional scene, but in one way I respected it. I didn't feel like they milked it for all they could have. Like I feel like it could have been drawn out much more, like teary-eyed, and I don't know.
Well, yeah, so the whole cold opening of this show is all score. There's only music playing. There's no dialogue whatsoever. She's standing over her father's memorial. The boys are in, and we notice that this is immediately after the memorial service that they have, or at least the memorial that they have with the three of them and Nat and John Henry. But the boys are still in their black coat with their grandfather's matching shirt on. And and it's all score, just and he hugs his wife, and then that's when we get our title card. I mean, they didn't linger on it. It was quick. We knew he was alive. They brought him back right in the beginning, just an emotional, quick, cold opening, and we're right into the story.
And second, we get, it's been 2 weeks. We see that he's got a big scar on his chest.
3 weeks.
And then it says, but then we get a beat where it says it's been over 3 weeks since Luther it's been over 3 weeks now, and Luther will send that thing if he finds out you're still alive. And that's when Lois is like, take the boys training. And
Jordan says, I'm not going.
And it was kind of like, okay. So I'm going to pause right there as we go through this. One thought is, you have this looming fear. Like I would have this looming fear that doomsday is out there, and I've died once and I don't know how to stop this thing. Like I would almost have a paranoia. because it's going to come from my kids and my wife. So I would want my sons trained up as much as possible. You know, I would kind of be like John Henry, like, Nat, like, we need to make an assault. And I'm loving this season, but I'm feeling the absence of things. Like the absence of Clark is back. There's no Lana in this episode at all. Like, unless the next episode has Lana in it and we see something that happened that took place in those 3 weeks. Like, there's no, like, oh my God, like, emotional beat up because, like, you know, she was preparing that Clark was dead too. You know, John Henry and Nat. There's one line of dialogue later about with them in here, but yeah, like Clark's, you know, alive. Like, where's that kind of communication?
Yeah. Well, I think the people in his inner circle, they wouldn't let it out, but the more people that know, obviously the bigger chance of it getting out. And he can't go anywhere. He can't go into town and see Lana. I mean, she can come and see him, but exactly. Like I said, but at this moment, like anything you risk communication wise, I mean, because hell, at this point, Luther could have the farm under surveillance, but I mean, that's just like really like reaching. But Luther could easily find out that he's back or alive. But I don't know. I mean, I don't need to be like, well, for 3 weeks, Lana's the mayor of Smallville, you know? Like she's been working and she does have concerns. She is working on like trying not to let Luther get any more property in Smallville. Like I'm sure that after that, moving forward, Lana's gonna come back and find out Clark's alive.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, but like, it's just that if you look at the story structures that we've had before in the previous seasons, you can kind of see it just feels like there's little things that you'd think.
Well, like, you were talking about John Henry and Nat before now, and like they didn't go into where they've been or what they were doing. The only thing that John said was, we should have helped him. And Nat said, he said no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, like they recused themselves from being in the place and time. This season has been very focused on the characters who are important in each episode.
Yes. And I appreciate that too.
You know,
because then we don't get a lot of side story that I don't need.
Right. You know. I don't necessarily feel that Lana, even though like she's doing her thing and she's with or I don't know, with quote unquote with John Henry, possibly. But she has her life. Kyle has his life. I don't think she's, rushing to get an invite to his wedding.
Well, yeah, I didn't really expect
they've been divorced for a year.
I didn't expect her to be at the wedding, but I expected maybe a scene with Clark coming back, but we'll see how that plays out. Let's talk about the fun of the boys training, or John training. When Clark talks about the Kessel Run and John's like, in 12 parsecs, and he's like, yes. Yes.
See, I haven't rewatched the episode in a while of when he took Jordan out there.
I didn't.
If he said a similar joke and Jordan didn't get it or reference it.
I wanted to watch that episode.
I didn't get that full comparison.
I did watch someone put online like the 2 scenes of the boys going into the canyon.
Yeah.
Flying. And part of like why I think that John has adapted to his powers better is I kind of use the logic similar to Man of Steel. Like John being an athlete and was always been very comfortable with his body, who he is. So it's like this natural progression that he's just adapting to. Why Jordan has always kind of been at war with who he is and his emotions.
Yeah.
And's been uncomfortable in his own skin and not confident in who he is. But John's always been confident in who he is. So I feel like it just has allowed him that little bit more of like, hold over his powers.
Right. Where'd you train? On a farm?
Exactly.
Exactly.
In a
The Zod
glacier.
idea. In a glacier. Yeah.
Now we do have that scene where Clark is flying with Jonathan, and like his heart beats and he falls. And I kind of wonder if it's because, like they said in the start of the season, that Clark's heart beats 3 times, and even with the enhancement of General Lane's heart, I wonder if it's like a 2 beater, because it started out human.
Right.
And that could be part of why the heart's like just not as strong enough, even with the enhancement, to power Clark.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes sense. We did speculate that he would have some troubles moving forward with a human heart.
It only makes sense, there's an adjustment period.
Mm-hmm.
And when they said that, I thought back to our previous Superman the Animated Series watching with John Corbin, the adjustment period,
Mm-hmm.
But we have, while the good stuff's going on, Chrissy and what do you call it? Chrissy and Kyle are getting married, and we meet Chrissy's mom.
Like, I recognize the actress, but I don't know from what.
And Clark, is trying to put some of that Cushing charm. And we learn that their venue has a busted pipe. And what do you call it? There's Solomon, the Jimmy Olsen, yeah. And they offer to have the wedding at the barn. And Lois is asked to be the maid of honor, which that makes sense. That's cool. That's cool.
And then Clark.
Hold on, we're getting there. Yeah, go ahead. Go.
And then Clark is asked to be the best man, or the super best man.
And I like that Kyle was never like a bully to Clark, so you don't have this kind of like like, I'm sorry for how I treated you in the past type stuff. Kyle's always seemed to be like a legit good dude.
Yeah. Not like, what's his name? Brad or something from Superman 3.
Or Whitney,
Or Whitney. Yeah. Coming full circle.
Yeah. Like,
no, I do like how he's always been, nice with him, cordial with him, everything. They've had a good, there was no need to wedge in that type of dysfunction.
No, there wasn't. And I like, because he asked him to be his best man. And I love Clark just being more like, I don't want him more alive in this episode. It's because he really is embracing his second chance. Like, he's upbeat. And he says, what do you call it? I just plugged in the grills. And Kyle's like, plugged in the grills?
Mm-hmm.
What? Show me now.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah. Give me food. Well, I really love it because it actually calls back to when Lois is like, no, Clark is not cooking on the Clark can't cook.
Right. And in season 1 where they're grilling and Kyle's making his ribs and everything. I thought that was great. And then he's like, and then Kyle tastes it and Clark's like, see? Not that bad. And he's like, not bad.
Yeah, he's like, I followed your recipe. So it was really good. I like that.
It was good. I like seeing their friendship grow.
Yeah, there are things like you said, Clark embracing in this episode. Like, there's been so many scenes in this series of him and Lois sitting on the porch drinking wine, and Clark's never affected. But in this episode, he is, because he says something. He's like, he utters like, that sucks. And Lois is like, did you just say that sucks or whatever? And he's like, I think I'm feeling the wine. Like, well, that's never happened before.
It's the little things to show that he's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have the build up for the wedding, and we've seen that Jordan keeps listening to the voice message thing over and over. And one of my favorite was when they're in the barn talking to Sarah, and the boys. Oh no, wait, that's two different scenes. Never mind. Hold on. Oh, it's the Great Sayla. The Great Sayla. Look. Yay. Supergirl Sayla.
No.
Can't beat that.
Mm-hmm.
They hear Gretchen talking, and Jordan basically tells Jonathan to go get mom, and Lois was talking to Chrissy, and then they go and
well, they're trying to get somebody to flip on Luther because Luther doesn't leave loose ends, and they should know that, and the only way to be protected.
Exactly. The whole house is set up for the wedding, and it's kind of funny because there's a line about anything that you need, Miss Chrissy, Miss Beppo, Miss Cushing, and she's like, easy on the Miss Cushing thing. And there's a lot of conflict between Chrissy's mom and Kyle because she asks, like, how long you been divorced? And do we have an idea of how old Chrissy is?
Well, we know she's younger.
Because there's lines about, like, you didn't ask my daughter to marry her till you found out she was pregnant. And Chrissy says that her and Sarah had gotten close. And the mom's like, that's because you're the same age.
Well, I think that was an exaggeration. I mean,
well, I know that, but I'm just saying, like,
Chrissy is the editor of the Smallville Gazette. I mean, it's a small paper, but she's still the boss.
I would say Kyle's late 30s.
Yeah, where's Lana and Clark? Kyle's the same age, so late 30s, early 40s.
And then I would say Chrissy's mid to late 20s.
Mm-hmm. So like, maybe a 10-year or 12-year gap, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of where my brain's going, And my question is, how long do you think Clark was dead for?
Oh, man. Yeah, they don't really go into how long, I don't think. I don't recall anything in the previous episodes of saying how long he's been dead or anything.
I'm thinking about a week, give or take a little. Because of how condensed the first episodes were to when the Doomsday fight actually ended and everything. I'd say probably maybe about a week. Because she took a little bit before she wrote the paper that the Superman is dead. But let's see. We see Gretchen trying to call Otis. I said Lois and Jordan Lois and Jordan have their great scene. Like, this was a really great scene where I'm glad we addressed this like this, but we're kind of moving past where Jordan just feels like he lets his mom down and he's a disappointment, and he's not mad at her for choosing John. Like, this was a really good scene.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't let it linger, And
that's what I'm saying. Like, they addressed it, they were able to work it and move on.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he talked about how he's still, because Lois had mentioned how him getting powers didn't fix his any of his issues that he really had, Mm-hmm. So I still feel like he's still has his emotional issues going on. And just one more thing, like the idea of his mother liking his brother more than him, him coming to the understanding of that, and then what he does in this episode about kind of needing to step back and giving John the opportunity to kind of step in where he was trying to go but hasn't really gotten there. I think is a responsible choice, a good move for the character at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like like you said, it didn't fix anything, but I think it's helped him somewhat, but he still has to work through himself. So we're back in the barn and we have the music set up. And one of my favorite lines was, from Kyle talking to Coach as the DJ music provider here. You got any Blink-182 or 311? Yeah, that
why would you want to ruin your wedding like that?
And I was just like, man, like that got to me. That cut me deep. And then this is the shot that I was talking about when the two boys are talking to Sarah and they hear the fire in Metropolis and they both turn and are listening, and she's just like, what? And they're like,
yeah, she says got a couple of meerkats over here, because they like perk up and turn their heads. Like it was really good. I liked it.
And then Jordan tells John to go, and I'm just like, John's still learning, man. They should have went together,
Yeah. Well, at this point, like I said, Jordan is doubting himself, what he's doing, the reason he's become kind of this superhero, his recent failures in the superhero realm. Also Jonathan got his powers and how good he is with them. But it is interesting how good he is with them is utilizing them, but not in an active scenario, a strategic and active scenario.
Yeah,
which is what he has to learn. So that was a really cool touch to this episode.
And I'm sitting there,
the brothers, their story,
and I'm watching this, and I'm like, why isn't Jordan listening to make sure John's okay? He's but then we find out that he's in trouble. This dude's shooting fire. He's got like fire cannons.
Yeah, he's like Mega Man with fire fists.
and then boom. I love the way Superman shows up. He's got his new suit on. It's a little bit darker. It's a really good looking suit. I feel like it's a little too dark for me, but it's okay because I look at it like it's a nice blend of like the idea of the black suit with the blue suit. So it's a darker blue instead of going with the black suit.
Well, he the shot was dark. What we do see is we see a lot of orange light from the fire. So the lighting is very very colorful against it. And then as the fire gets put out and he takes the guy out, it is a darker shot. There's smoke and things like that in the air. So it even makes the blue look even darker. I feel in this shot because we don't get Superman doing his thing in this episode.
I just like how he just walks up to the dude and the dude's like, and he just like walking like nothing and just takes him out. And then we get a nice line of dialogue that John Henry is taking that guy in. So that is some nice continuity dialogue with
taking him into the DOD so he's not able to talk and say that Superman is back.
Jordan gives John the jacket and goggles and everything that he had, which I'm just like, okay, but I think they both deserve their own suits. Like that's something I want to see. They both get their own suits.
Well, wait, there's still potential. This is episode 4 of 10.
I know. And then basically we have a scene where Chrissy's basically not ready to get married and everybody's there and Kyle's just like, well, we're not getting married, but let's get our party on. And there's a line that Sarah said that was hilarious about every time there's a family event in the barn, it's like tragic.
Yeah. Is the barn cursed?
Which was funny. And then miraculously, there's Sophie. There's Sophie, the other Cushing daughter that we never see. And then
he's got to have both of his daughters at the wedding, even though he only sees her on rare occasions.
And then the episodes end where the boys are in town with Sarah, and it's Lois and Clark at home together. And then we see a nice panning shot of Lois's phone going off, and it's saying all these outlets are reporting Superman's back, Superman's alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it ends.
So it was a really great episode. I loved how it all ended on pretty much a high note. It was a small stinger, but how emotional this season has been. I liked how it ended on a high note. It was a great party. They had a good time. They're alone together. They're having a nice moment, and then you get that stinger. Superman's alive. Um, really good. And then I loved how many differences there was for Superman in this episode. Like the differences of how he can feel. He feels the alcohol, from the wine. He also mentions like for the party that he stopped counting how many glasses of wine he had. So I think Clark got drunk and had a good time at the wedding or at the party. And then when they were flying and his heart skips the beats and he crashes, John says he was going Mach 5. He's like, it was barely Mach 2. And he's like, and I barely felt it. And Lois is like, the fact that you felt it at all means, there's something wrong. So, lots of little bits here that Clark is different in this episode. But I do like how his invulnerability just to that fire, like that didn't take anything. He just walked right into it.
Our classic dad, where we don't want to admit that we are having problems, that we're not as strong as we used to be. So,
yeah,
like, oh, we're good. We don't want to admit that we have problems. But that's the episode. Love it. Can't wait for the next one.
It was a great episode. Top
the
tier,
irony,
like 4 10s in a row, man.
I know. The irony is, Tuesday I have to go to the dentist and have some dental work done, and because they moved my appointment to later in the day, I have to take the day off work because it's right there in the middle. So I'm like, well, the good side is I'll wake up and get to watch Superman and Lois with Jania before I have to go to the dentist. So
yeah. Well, I'm stuck with this sucker for up to almost 2 more weeks. I went in yesterday, like I said, like 2 days in a row, and I got it numbed up and everything again, but that one tooth just won't go numb. So they were doing their thing on it again yesterday or Thursday, and so I scheduled it to be put under to get it removed, which is 2 weeks out. I haven't taken anything since I woke up in bed at like 6:30 this morning, so I'm starting to feel it. It's getting in there. Hopefully your visit goes right and goes quick. And I've been in the dentist chair 3 times this week, and all I've gotten is sore tooth and gums from it. I haven't gotten any work that's actually fixed anything yet.
The pain.
Yeah.
Poor James.
It's been flaring up the last 15 minutes. I've just been sitting here like,
If only we were Kryptonian. So remember.
Look up in the sky!
Thank you for joining us today on the Krypton Report. We ask you check out our social media. We have a YouTube where we do YouTube specials. You can check out our dollar Patreon like we talked about where we do specials. Check the QR code here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on X and all other social media.